It's a new day. What do we need for first? For first we need to do some coffee and makeup and breakfast. Maybe. Let's see. Starting with connect this cam. And let's start new day. What about my plans for today? Good question. I don't really know now. What about my camera? Look, Alex. It works. Not really. Why? Let's try again. Okay. Okay.
Last year I got an email. It said that the price of my Disney Plus annual plan was increasing to $140. But that wasn't the only one. Netflix was going up, and their most affordable tier would now have ads. Amazon Prime would be $3. Apple TV went from $6.99 to $9.18 a month. There are so many great things to watch, and they're all spread across so many different services. I want to watch them all, but man, does it hurt to fork up so much money every month to do it. It kind of makes you wonder, how did we all end up in this position where we're paying so much for streaming everything? And maybe more importantly, can we as consumers do any better? To answer these questions, we first need to look at the story from the streamer's perspective. And we'll start with Netflix, the biggest, oldest streamer around. For most of its history, Netflix made money in one way: its subscribers. So if Netflix wanted to make more money, they either had to add subscribers or raise prices. This was always Netflix's strategy. As this 2021 New York Times article explains, the CEO and founder of Netflix was betting that the company could attract subscribers and raise its prices faster than the debt clock was ticking. And Netflix had taken on a lot of debt, almost $15 billion by 2020, with the purpose of building an entire platform's worth of content, ensuring that they weren't reliant on movies and TV that they didn't own, like The Office or Friends. This strategy worked, and for a long time, Netflix grew really reliably, even as its prices went up.
They've had very steady growth, 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, and then the pandemic happens in 2020, and they have their best year ever.
That's Lucas Shaw, by the way.
Managing editor for media and entertainment of Bloomberg News, and I'm also the author of the newsletter Screen Time. Netflix got to a point where they realized that their growth was much slower than it had been, right? Growth continues to be slower in 2021, and looking into 2022, they get nervous.
And then in 2022, Netflix actually lost subscribers. Just 200,000 at first, and then 1 million.
There are only so many people in the population, right? Even if you got everyone, there is a ceiling to that.
But they also knew that they had more customers than it appeared.
Like this phenomenon of password sharing. Netflix had said publicly that they were not worried about it, and I think early on, it's true, they were not worried about it because password sharing was a way of exposing the service to more people, and if people liked it, they would convert. But at a certain point when they hit a bit of a ceiling, they were looking at the numbers and they said the only way that we're going to be able to grow is if we convert some of those sharers into payers.
This move created a temporary surge in subscribers. It made enough of a dent that other companies are following in these footsteps. But Netflix isn't the only trendsetter. While all this was going on, another company was carving out a slightly different path. Hulu has always had two tiers to its service: ad-free and ad-supported. According to this 2019 article, Hulu's ad-supported option was the most lucrative tier of their business. It was so successful, they actually lowered the price from $7.99 to $5.99.
Advertising has been the key to a successful video business forever. You know, you think about the cable business, you don't think about paying for discrete channels, but you are paying for a bundle of channels, and oh, by the way, those channels still have advertising. So it's not really a foreign concept.
Hi,
That's something
Big
that
Daddy
Hulu
Kane.
had done quite effectively.
As more streamers crowd the market with ever-increasing prices, pretty much every service, including Netflix, has introduced a more affordable, ad-supported tier to their offerings, which people seem to appreciate. Ad-supported plans have been driving an increasing percentage of new signups and supplementing each company's bottom line. But here's the thing, most of these companies still aren't profitable.
Part of it is just they're so new. I think we lose sight of that. Like, these companies spend billions and billions of dollars to launch new services and take on Netflix, and they try to condense, 15 years of Netflix's streaming service into 3 to 5, and that was very expensive.
So that's it, more or less. Companies fighting debt, revenue losses, subscriber losses, or a mix of those things have raised prices and added ads in hopes to become or remain profitable. But what does that mean for us as individuals? Well, if you're like me and have crafted your personality around filmmaking, movies, and TV, then you might be subscribed to a bunch of streaming services indefinitely. This isn't cheap, but it's the kind of thing that you might be willing to invest in. So maybe the answer for me is to do nothing and just accept the increased monthly cost, because I find value in having access to all of the streaming services. But in researching this video, I found that there is a growing group of people that have a much more strategic approach. They're called serial churners, which is just the industry way of saying that this type of consumer isn't static. They're churning or unsubscribing and resubscribing to services based around what they want to watch in a particular month. According to the analytics group Antenna, 1 in 5 people were serial churners in 2023. It seems like the answer for these people is that it's worth the effort to hop around. They can save money and more selectively access content on their own timeline. A more middle ground approach might be to subscribe to 1 or 2 services indefinitely and then hop around on the other ones.
I've opened Max, Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon all within the last month, maybe within the last couple of weeks. And then Paramount Plus and Peacock, I guess, yes, I'm a churner for those. I sign on and off depending on what happens, and that's fine for me. And everyone else, their appetite's going to be different. Maybe other people only want to be permanently signed on for 2.
This approach requires some effort and strategy around your media diet, but it could be quite cost-effective in the long run. And that's one of the reasons that we switched from cable to streaming to begin with, the ability to choose what you pay for. Streaming has changed a lot. We're in a new, weird, increasingly expensive era of it. Maybe that means it's time we start looking at our relationship to streaming differently, and start asking the question, how do you make your streaming diet work for you?
Okay, if you work or not. Not really work.
Imagine going back to 1994 and asking people what a hot product would look like in 2024. Chances are, it wouldn't resemble a Stanley Cup. Yet, here we are. The reusable water bottles are one of the most sought-after forms of beverage containment. Largely thanks to TikTok, Stanley's revenue jumped from $74 million in 2019 to $750 million in 2023. But look behind the massive sales, and there's a deeper case study in effective product marketing and leveraging cultural momentum.
I think with the Stanley Cup brand, you're not really buying into Stanley. You're buying into the community of all the other girls who have one in their hand. And it's very similar, in my opinion, to Jolie, the showerhead company that's gotten pretty popular through customers who post about it. And on one hand, it's something to brag about, right? You have this amazing piece of hardware in your home. It's that with the Stanley Cup as well, but it's this sense of community. Like, everybody's got their Stanley Cup, everybody's staying hydrated. It's something that signals, only good things.
Stanley Cup's marketing has been successful in the diversity
What happens
by
with my
which
setup?
it's gone to market. So, Stanley Cup is a 110-year-old company. right? And
Let's
the
try this
products
one.
aren't terribly novel since its conception 110 years ago. Like the only new product it's had as far as a new actual product was in 2016, 2017, the Quencher tumbler. Right? They have different colorways since, but the product has been by and large very much the same. But the marketing savviness of Stanley Cup is its ability to not only do the traditional marketing means, but also leverage other vehicles by which the message is not only reaching new people, but done in new contexts, right? This diversity of communication, derivative works provides new opportunities to bring new people into the brand, into the idea. So they partnered with content creators throughout TikTok that have taken the brand, taking its products and reworked it through their own cultural frames for people who self-identify or subscribe to a similar culture as that creator.
The success of Stanley's marketing is mainly credited to its company's president, Terrence Riley. This is the same man who made Crocs cool during his 5-year stint as the footwear company's chief marketing officer. After Riley saw the now famous TikTok of a woman's Stanley Cup surviving a car fire and still containing ice, he said it showed the product is, quote, built for life and offered the woman free Stanleys and a new car.
When I saw that he was at the helm of all this, you go, of course, because it is a very similar playbook, not in its execution, but in its ethos, in that brands are not owned by the company. They are stewarded by the company, but they are co-created. Their meanings
Okay.
are co-created by the people. And if you invite people in to co-create value, to co-author the narrative, share the pen with these people, to be a part of the mythology and the folklore, they'll do things that you could never do. They'll take you in places that you can never be. They'll provide a level of media credence that you can
Be right
never
back.
buy.
I need a coffee.
People trust people more than people in marketing communications.
Stanley, the cup, all steel thermos bottle that's completely dependable.
Stanley has always been kind of a blue-collar, utilitarian, masculine product, right? It had an efficacy, it had a utility, not unlike what Yeti has done with coolers and probably their own tumblers and a portfolio of things. They've really found a way to expand appeal, to invite new users in, to capture a higher margin by redefining the brand for a new generation and new audiences, but it's all rooted in the product quality. You see the absolute power of scarcity, the absolute appeal of limited editions. And importantly, what we also see is desire and demand on full display, right? Social commerce hasn't just kind of catalyzed this, it's created community around it, which is yet another thing we see here, which is the power of community and ultimately identity.
Naturally, Stanley's warp speed rise in popularity has not been obstacle-free. There were the uncivilized situations at Target, the woman who was arrested for allegedly stealing $2,500 worth of cups,
Crazy.
and customer concerns over potential lead content. The company responded to the concerns, saying it does use lead-containing sealing material during the manufacturing process, but that the lead-containing parts are covered with stainless steel, making the cups safe. That prompted competitors like Hydro Flask and Owala to take shots at Stanley in social media posts and promote the safety of their own products. But none of this appears to be slowing Stanley down.
They have a much better grasp on who their customer is and who's buying and why they're buying than probably most of the players in their category that sell through retail. If you look at Stanley as a company, it's not a company that was venture-backed and forced to grow over a couple years after launch. It's a brand that took its time to grow and mature and build brand affinity. And I think that's a great lesson because a lot of people who start a brand today, they want it to blow up tomorrow. And they want, millions of fans who are diehard fans of their brand to be, really excited about what they're doing. But that takes a lot of time and consistency and continuity over the years. The other one, I think, is figuring out how you turn your brand or your marketing engine into, instead of a megaphone, more sort of a peer marketing engine.
I mean, it's interesting because Yeti, Hydro Flask, like these folks were sort of mainstays in the category. And again, I've never seen an ad for Hydro Flask. You know, I've only seen content for Yeti, particularly around the coolers online, but I've never seen an ad for it. But it's the cultural contagion of Stanley that has created such a gravitational pull. And I haven't seen the other brands sort of been able to leverage its power in this way, which says to me there's probably a lot of folks looking at this case study, their competitors saying, how do we, if not do our version of this, but how do we, in a more savvy way of looking at it, how do we ignite our own version of cultural contagion in ways that are very unique to us and the people who know us and love us?
There's no question this isn't just net positive, it's net incredibly positive, right? And, you know, mayhem at Target, which is what we saw when they released the limited edition color, right? You know, first of all, people are going to people, and that's not Stanley's fault. That's not Target's fault, right? Idiots are going to be idiots. But again, what it does is it shows demand, it illustrates desire, it puts it on full display. We are all desperate, right? To connect, to belong, to express who we are, to have a means of identification that is culturally relevant. And that's just humans being humans. Like, we were the same way when we were in the caves. The architecture of our brains is unchanged. And I don't think it's that bad to have what is a relatively affordable, quote unquote, luxury, accessible, aspirational vehicle. You know, if it makes you happy, do it, as long as it doesn't hurt anyone.
This is Peach Fuzz, Pantone's 2024 Color of the Year. It'll make headlines, but we're not going to talk about it a lot in this video, because selling colors is not how the company makes money. It also doesn't make money selling paint, or color mixing machinery, or even color itself. What Pantone sells is something much more abstract, a promise of uniformity, so that the color Peach Fuzz looks the same whether it's printed out on a billboard or a ceramic mug. This whole idea that you can sell consistency is relatively new. It's the brainchild of this guy, Lawrence Herbert, aka the... This is the economics of Pantone. New Jersey, 1956. Recently graduated chemistry major Lawrence Herbert joined a small printing company called Pantone as a part-time printer. At the time, product packaging was less consistent. Now we're used to seeing products come in identical packaging, like all these blue Modelo boxes. But Pantone's president says it didn't used to be that way, back when everything was done over the phone.
It's really difficult to say, hey, that's it's kind of like a cherry red, but not as bright, but maybe slightly darker. It's really hard to actually convey that message.
That's good.
For example, see these two camera boxes? The yellow on the right is brighter than the one on the left. Kodak says customers were more likely to buy the lighter yellow boxes, logically thinking that the darker boxes were older and therefore contained older film. Customers didn't know that the difference in color was due to the fact that the boxes were printed at different factories, each of which mixed their own versions of Kodak yellow. Herbert recognized this was a problem. As he worked his way up the ranks at Pantone, he became known for his expertise in color
I
chemistry.
can't
And when he
do
bought the
breakfast
company
with
in
makeup
1962,
because it
he had an
just
idea
don't work
to change it from
today.
a printing company into something entirely different that could solve Kodak's problems. His team created a set of formulas, so every factory printed the packaging in the same color.
For a lot of companies, color is part of their brand identity. There's Tiffany, and they have a specific blue, and it's very important because we say, oh, that's Tiffany blue. We see the box, and we go, oh, you got me a Tiffany ring.
67 years after Herbert joined the company, Pantone has developed these formulations into over 10,000 colors.
So no one actually owns color. What we have is the IP of the Pantone color system, which is a collection of colors that we have selected for its not just its beauty, but its reproducibility across different formats.
Matching colors across formats is harder than it sounds, but it's vital for companies.
They may have a color in mind that they want to make sure that can be reproduced across different materials that they may be
Hi,
doing,
Farka.
or whether it could be from
How are
the
you?
clothing line all the way to the storefront, all the way
My
to the
morning
internet
is
representation on the
strange.
website.
My
So,
second
say a
cam
company
doesn't
wanted
work
the same
today,
color
so
on its packaging
I don't know
as
what
magazine
I can
has.
do with it.
The ink might look one way on cardboard
Will be
and another way
work
on
with
glossy
it
paper.
later.
So Pantone would have to
For now,
provide
just
slightly different formulas to make the colors look exactly
don't know.
the same. For example, the cardboard formula would be adjusted to a matte, absorbent,
Yeah.
slightly textured surface.
What
while the
about
formula
you?
for magazine paper would be altered to account for the shiny finish. To ensure all colors look the same, Pantone has a rigorous quality
Won't
control
connect.
process. The company uses a tool
It
called
looks
a
like
photometer
all
to
work,
compare
but
the same
it
color on
didn't
different surfaces. So
today.
Pantone would analyze reflected light from the materials and generate a number value based on that color. Then they
Sunday
compare to
night,
the number
yeah.
for the color in their official index. If the data doesn't match, they'd have to reformulate.
It's
Yeah,
cool.
basically someone's out there, checking these cards to make sure that the fabric that we've dyed are within a certain delta E difference, meaning that the
Oh.
color is consistent one by
Great
one.
news.
It has to be highly accurate.
Pantone has done color testing
Mhm.
with over 10,000 colors, which it compiles into these color
King's
guides, like
birthday.
this 1964 version, which cover the
Cool.
whole gamut or range of colors logged by the company. There are dozens of different versions of the guidebooks. Some are even made specifically for certain companies.
About half of our revenue
Sure.
comes from the physical guides that we have because there are so many different formats. of
Yeah.
it.
They can cost about
Understandable.
$700 for this essential set to about $9,000
Bank holidays,
for a set of
it's
colors
always
by
good.
its colors. Pantone says the guidebooks generate the most revenue. It sells them to designers, marketers, and artists annually. Each year, they're updated with new colors.
Your book is exposed to air and it can oxidize, and then what you see
How
in
long?
your book can visually change when you look at it. So then
I
you
don't
won't
know.
accurately
Half
know
year?
that's the exact color that you were
Or you
looking
mean,
for. So for that reason, it is important to keep getting fresh
Turning
books
on?
so
I
that
don't
you
know.
can view them accurately.
Pantone says the other half of its revenue comes from its consulting and licensing and digital services
Works, but
businesses.
I don't know. It's not with camera problem. It's problem with my server.
It made this banana-inspired
I
food and standardized it
hope I
for
can
branches.
handle it later when stream will be finished.
Companies can trademark specific colors, so you can, say, make and sell your own competing products using Tiffany blue. But when it comes to all the other colors, in
For
Pantone
streaming, it's not
guidebooks,
only camera.
For
You know,
those
it's
who
many
get
of
their hands on the
things
color, of
that
course they can
need
use the
to
color.
work together.
When we're communicating colors between different people, and this is where the Pantone IP comes into handy because it can refer to a specific shade, a hue of a color through its name.
While the majority of Pantone's revenue comes from those branches, its well-known marketing campaign might be what makes it a household name. 2024's Peach Fuzz is inspired by warmth and healing. A Pantone spokeswoman said they anticipated increased interest in self-care in the next year, which they felt the shade represented.
We want to make sure that our community of creatives and designers have a conversation about color every year, at least once a year.
After nearly 5 decades of ownership, Lawrence Herbert's family sold Pantone to X-Rite in 2007. The company makes color measurement tools, which help to cement Pantone's status as a color authority. Just 5 years later, X-Rite was acquired
I
by the
see.
Danaher Corporation, a life sciences
I'm
and
not too.
technology conglomerate. In October, Pantone and X-Rite spun off from Danaher with 11 other companies into a newly
I
traded
have
company,
many
Peralta Corp.
techniques, no
While Lawrence Herbert could have never
understanding,
foreseen Pantone's evolution,
but no understanding how it works.
in the world of color. And as products advance from physical to digital, Pantone's scope will have to keep evolving.
When it comes to color, we want to make sure that it's always
Yeah, my setup,
consistent no matter what you are,
it's
whether it's a
impressive
digital format where
even
we
for
can
me.
expand on that with products and services, or in different types of physical format
Yeah.
to help like our customers and clients find the right color and be able to execute those colors the way that they want it.
Dear Apple, the iPad needs help. Let me explain. About a month ago, Apple launched the new iPad Pro, and I spent over $3,000 ordering the fully spec'd out one for myself. I was so excited, I thought, oh my god, the iPad is now more powerful than I could ever possibly need. This can be my sketchpad, my laptop, my Netflix device, my gaming machine. I can do all of my computing on this one tablet that's barely 5mm thin. And you know what? I was right. At least about that part. I'll never forget my first day setting up this iPad. I was in absolute awe. My whole plan was to see if I could use this to replace my big chunky
I thought about it, but
16-inch MacBook Pro.
I have
Kind of proves it.
older
And so
one
I was
and
by one
it's
doing
okay
all
for
the
now.
things that I did on this and setting them up here. And basically everything just worked. Every account login took seconds thanks to Apple's keychain password memory and Face ID. The fact that the iPad has Face ID where the Mac still doesn't meant that I barely needed to lift a finger, and everything was set up. But also, you know how Apple constantly describes this iPad as a magic sheet of glass? Yeah, I know, the marketing talk is crazy.
Magic
But
sheet
in a
of
way,
glass.
that quote finally made sense to me on this day. The screen feels like it should not be as bright as it is, considering how thin the iPad is. The thumb rejection, how you can grip the thing in one hand and scroll with the other, and the touchscreen understands what you're doing and ignores your thumb, it does feel like magic. And most importantly, it doesn't matter which way you're using it. You can rotate it any orientation
Not a
you
lot.
want.
I'm
The
started,
bezels
but
are completely even
I forgot
whichever way
about
you
it.
pick.
I
Face
need
ID
to
works in
watch
any
it.
orientation, but also
It was cool.
volume buttons. I realized that they flip. So when you
I
hold the
saw
iPad this
few
way,
first
left turns your volume
series
down, right turns it up. But then when you
episodes.
rotate the iPad 180 degrees, the buttons remap themselves so that from your perspective, left is still volume down, right is still volume up. I'd assumed it might be slower than my maxed out MacBook Pro.
A bit in
Look
the
at the
past.
font difference. Would you be surprised?
Hi,
But
Max.
it isn't. It is so fast. I thought I'd have difficulties with battery life. Barely. The battery, while definitely
Long
not
time
as good as a
ago,
MacBook Pro, is still better than what
a
you
bit.
get on most laptops.
I
love the
have
fact that my
experience
main
with this
computer
game, but
would actually have
not too
cellular
much.
data now. And I did initially think this was going to be some next level monthly expense, but turns out prepaid data only eSIMs, they're actually okay. I found a plan that's going to cost me £100 for my hopefully years worth of data usage.
Cool.
I even jumped into some video calls and I was just like, what? This webcam
I
is amazing.
see.
It's crisp,
It's cool.
flattering, but also it has center
I
stage,
like
which means
this
just like
series,
those actually
but
physically rotating
I
webcams you
need
can buy,
to
it follows you around the
watch
room
it
and actually keeps you
full.
in the center. Oh yeah, and the games. If you're someone who plays a
Yeah.
lot of games on your phone, let me tell you, they hit very different on an iPad. You're getting like
I
the
saw
biggest,
only a
brightest,
few episodes,
clearest
but I
picture
like it.
possible. Not to mention that you will not have to worry about performance. This thing absolutely eats mobile games for breakfast. So in case you can't already tell, I was initially in love with this thing. So where on earth did it go wrong? Well, day 2, when I actually started trying to do some proper work on it. I woke up, I plugged it into my monitor, like I've been doing for years with my laptop, and I settled into my desk for a good day's research. Mr. Cook,
Yeah, you're
my
right.
mouse was not
Movie
working.
adaptations,
For years,
it's
I've been seeing
not
Logitech's very good MX Master
close
mouse that works
enough.
perfectly on Mac. And for some reason, I'm getting to the why later, but for some reason, it's
Often.
performing terribly. The scroll wheel was incredibly laggy and unresponsive, like unusably so. So I was having to scroll by clicking and dragging across the page like some unstoppable moron. But
The
top it
Last
all
of
off,
Us.
I keep disconnecting.
Let me
spent
Google
half
it,
of my first working
maybe.
day trying to troubleshoot my mouse, trying all sorts of other options, and eventually coming to the conclusion that, okay, there's one accessory that probably will work well on this, Apple's Magic Mouse. So I ordered one. It arrived.
No.
And you know what? Yes. Yes, it does. It works perfectly.
No.
But let me tell you, the ergonomics of this mouse are anything
I
but
didn't.
magic. It's super flat, it's kind of sharp, and
Okay,
it
I
still
need
requires
to
you
watch
to
it.
arch your
I
fingers to
like
use it like a trackpad instead of having a much more hand-friendly
this
scroll.
type
I've
of
actually had quite a few issues with my hands from long periods of
cinema.
time clawing like this. It's not good for you, but
I don't
or
have
choice that I have.
HBO
So,
here.
can you imagine my reaction
Only
when I
Amazon
realized that?
Prime and
The same thing was
Netflix.
happening to my keyboard. It honestly
Because
felt like
HBO
a
it's
cartoonish problem to be
for
having in this
United
day and age,
States,
but
it's
sometimes my
don't
space bar
work
just
here.
randomly started inserting 2 spaces each time. But worse still, it would very often just stop typing. And you know me, I don't normally rage at things, but this really started to tick me off. And again, 0 issues with the Mac, but for some reason the iPad is extremely unreliable.
I just watched what I have on Netflix or Amazon Prime.
But then it got worse. And then I started
They
to
have
notice a pattern. Because
a lot of stuff that I don't watch.
You know, it's only on this iPad that I've realized
Didn't
how much
watch
I rely on screenshots.
before.
Look at this. If you're on a Mac and you want to send someone what you're looking at, you tap a few buttons, you select the area you want to share, and then just drag and drop that file over to whoever you're sending it to. On the iPad, you press those same buttons, and for some bizarre reason, you just can't. Instead, the iPad takes a screenshot of not just the screen you're on, but also any screen you're connected to. And it takes the
I like
whole
Black
thing.
Mirror,
So every single
actually,
time you have to
on
delete
Netflix.
one of the screenshots and then manually use the touch screen to resize each corner of the second one till you have what you want. And then the dragging and dropping too, like 50% of the time, that doesn't work either, as each app is siloed with its own set of rules for how you add files to them. Actually, you know what? Let me just rapid fire through the plethora of unnecessary issues that I've had with this iPad, and then I'll explain why I think it's happening. For example, you can't rearrange your Safari favorites by just dragging. You instead have
just
to go into a convoluted separate
not
sidebar.
watching
Your favorites bar
a lot,
disappears
so
when you scroll down web pages, meaning that every single
just
time you want
enough
to go
for
to one
me.
of your favorites, you first have to either scroll back up or move your cursor to the top of the screen before you can click them. You don't actually get a mouse pointer. You get a mouse blob that sort of snaps onto things, so it's quite
Someday
a bit
I'm
less
watching
precise than
Korean
using a mouse,
dramas
and it makes
on
navigating to that subscribe button
other
that bit more
sites
difficult. So if you're
where
not using an iPad right now,
I
the
believe
next step for the
they
channel would be
pirated
smooth.
that series.
Some websites don't work. The iPad seems to get very confused between virtual keyboards and physical
Someday I
keyboards,
play
and
games,
sometimes just decides to give you
not
neither.
many.
There's no
I
progress bar when you're
play
transferring or
only
opening
Perfect
files, so you're
World
just left there waiting
or
until something
Genshin
suddenly
Impact
appears
for
when
now.
it's eventually done. Or should I say actually, if it's done. Because the software is much more aggressive with shutting down background processes than a normal computer. So sometimes Amazon purchases, for example, they don't go through unless I keep the window open while they're processing. And there are uploads that I left going on in the background that I later realized silently cancelled themselves. Apps sometimes behave in really unintuitive ways. Like, for example, when you're writing documents in your web browser, the iPad teaches you that a double tap highlights
I
a
saw
word and then
it.
a triple tap
It was
highlights
cool.
a paragraph.
I
But
like
then
it.
using the Docs app, it does something completely different and actually expects you to fiddle with a trackpad
Yeah.
trying to grab and drag this across.
It really was
Many apps are
cool.
really surprisingly poorly formatted for iPad. And don't even get me started on the Instagram app. All of that, but there's no official calculator, so you have to resort to downloading
many
someone else's
things
and having a permanent tab stapled across it. Multitasking isn't very good within your app.
about it because it was all this stuff. It was near
using the Gmail app.
my
So you end up
birth
then having to
city
use multiple different tabs of Gmail in your browser,
when
in the same way that you would on
I
your
was
Mac. Then that
1
kind of defeats
year
the main benefit of having these apps that are specifically designed and optimized
old.
around this mobile operating system. Oh yeah, and the desktop is
So
way
I
less
heard
flexible than a Mac. The iPad
many
does not
stuff
give you the
about
tools
it
required to be able to use its
from my
massive space
parents.
very well at all. The thing in common with all of these issues, they are extremely fixable.
I
With
think
this iPad,
yes,
Apple created
but
a brand new
it's
superpowered
really
chip.
terrible,
They made it
you
so
know, it's
unbelievably
terrible.
thin. They upgraded the Apple Pencil to a whole other level.
Many
It's
of
all
people
really cool
died.
stuff. But the thing that's upsetting me is that if instead they'd just done none of that and literally spent like 1 week instead fixing these software quirks, this will be a better product that the pros they're so fervently marketing
it
to
was very
will
scary.
actually use as their main computers. What I'm imagining is happening here is because Apple also sells the Mac, the single product that is most at risk of eating into that it's not Windows laptops at this stage, it is Apple's own iPad. So they're stuck in this weird
I
place
agree.
every year making
Me
the
too.
iPad more pro, but not actually addressing the core things that would allow pros to rely on it, requiring them to still get a MacBook.
Government
even though the
hide
hardware
it
is can
from
almost
people
definitely do absolutely
few
everything
days,
they wanted to.
and
There's a few more baked-in iPad issues that
we,
would be
we don't
harder
know
to fix,
anything.
like
We
how this screen gets way more fingerprinty
walking,
than a Mac screen, since it's designed around you
working,
touching it. How the speakers shoot
going to
outwards
school,
instead of forwards like they do on a Mac, so the audio
so
isn't as crisp. And that with
it
the
was
Magic
crazy.
Keyboard, the iPad is extremely top
Thanks
heavy
God glad
for
we're
a
alive
laptop. Once
after
it's on the
that.
desk, it doesn't feel nearly as stable in your lap. But for me,
Yeah.
these are smaller issues that I could learn to live with. So, what am I going to do with this? Am I returning mine? No. I still love it. In small moments, it does frustrate me to high heaven, and I do not understand how Apple thinks this magnet is an acceptable way to keep your very expensive Apple Pencil Pro. It needs some sort of latch, otherwise it's so easy to lose, you have to keep it in a bag. But then when this thing works the way you want it to, it feels like such a life hack. So this is what I'm doing. The iPad has become my travel computer. Anytime I leave the house for a day, I detach this from the keyboard, and this is everything I need, because I know that if I really want to,
Yeah.
I will be able to do
I can show you. I lived not far that year. It was in Poltava. Where is maps? Yeah. I lived in this city. Directions to Pripyat. $500 kilometers from Pripyat. It was scary. Fallout on Netflix too, or Amazon. I don't remember. Yeah, it was something in my circle. Maybe on Amazon. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, it's on Amazon. Okay, I have Prime. I need to watch it someday. Yeah, in Ireland too, actually. Oh, it's cool. I worked on one movie about Ukraine a year ago. It's cool. Film industry. I worked in the movie as actor and operator and a bit of production. It was film Parallels Realities. It's about Ukraine. In Ukrainians in Ireland. Actually, it's small production.
computing that I might need to on short notice. And then if I'm going abroad, I will pack this keyboard too, because these two together is 95% of the laptop experience. And in ways,
But still,
because the iPad is like so good for watching movies on a plane. And the only reason why I can't just completely ditch my MacBook Pro is just these weird limitations when you're trying to use it as a desktop computer. So for that one specific use case, I am still going to have to keep the Mac. I'll just leave it permanently docked to the table. So let's see if Apple fixes any of these cons at their next big software WWDC event. Now, while we do a little iPad camera test, I want to tell you about something that I've started using all the time. Anytime you're logging into one of those public Wi-Fis and they're asking for your
really
entire life history, or just giving your details to a website that you don't completely trust. For all of this, I've just started using an alternate ID. I'm not even kidding. You might know me as Aaron Maney, but online, I'm technically Emily. I've been using Surfshark's baked-in alternate ID feature,
that's cool.
It's amazing. It creates every single detail you could possibly need to fill out a form, including an email address that you can actually use for as long or as short as you want.
The Mac?
It means that you can have a
Let me Google it, I don't know.
You can copy and paste into any form in one click that's not actually you. By default, the new email that's set up for you will automatically forward emails that come in to your main email. But the beauty of that is, the second you decide that you no longer need the service that you signed up for, you just cut that email, and you have that peaceful reassurance that you've
large shark, pretty large.
There's like 15 different reasons why I use Surfshark VPN. Like also just the fact that it's a VPN, and
impressive.
VPN. It's fast, the app is awesome, and it's really affordable, because with the code BOSS, it's literally less than $3 a month, with 4 extra months for free, for an unlimited number of users, and a 30-day money-back guarantee. And so yeah, the camera is definitely a step down from the iPhone, but it's not bad.
I see. It is your specialty. Not only Vodafone.
In front of me, I have 3 iPhone 15s. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Ouch. Oh, I hate this. I hate this. Now, why did I do that? That was extremely painful and stupid. Well, you might want to cover your eyes for this one, because it's about to get worse. This is essentially the sharpest pick that I own, so let's use it to carve my favorite song lyrics ever into the back of each one. Never gone. Perfect. Now number 2. There we go. Gently does it. And number 3. I'm trying to match them as closely as possible. Finished. So, what I've done here is strategically destroy each one of these items using the same amount of force in the same places on both the front and the back.
4
so
months working for Avatar.
Who should you be getting to repair your phone? Let's call this one phone number 1.
I really like Avatar.
Nice, cheap-looking green backgrounds to represent the fact that this one we're going to get repaired from literally whoever will take the least amount of money. Phone 2, this middle yellow one, is going to be repaired by someone who I think is charging a fair price. Then I'm going to set a deep red wallpaper for phone 3, because this one is going directly to Apple, and it's probably going to be expensive. So we're going to be able to see how the entire experience works, who does it the cheapest, and
it's a big production.
Step 1 is we make some
worldwide
local options
things.
In my city. These are the kind of places that I imagine will hopefully be cheaper than Apple. Okay, let's start with Phone Garage. Hello? Hey. I have just managed to smash my iPhone 15 in a pretty brutal way. Would you be able to repair it?
Yes, I can do that for you. It's nearly £320.
£320 for the screen of the iPhone 15?
And if you want the generic one, £180.
And then also about the back plate, because I've scratched up the back of the phone as well.
£75 extra.
How quickly would you be able to repair it?
That will take like 4 to 5 hours.
For the next Avatar movies.
It's very interesting that
the next Avatar movies possible. That's cool.
But it is cool that he gave us that cheaper option.
I'm starting to wait.
£75 for the back, because I'd be very curious how close to the original's quality that can get. That's closer to what I imagine it actually should cost for the original parts. But then I found someone willing to go even further. You know, the ones which don't actually have a website, but just like a really poorly kept Facebook page. If anyone's going to do a cheap repair,
cool.
I think it's going to be these guys.
Honestly, it's impressive.
free. We don't change only by glass, we change full housing.
But what that means is I'm going to have to get the front
You can
repaired from
touch
this guy
it.
and then the back repaired from the first place. And that will be a non-genuine screen.
Quality is very good, same as original.
Thank you very much. That guy was pretty nice. So £180 for the screen, which he's saying is original Apple quality without being original Apple. He'll throw in a screen protector for free so that I don't do it again to myself. And then if I have any problems with it, he'll fix it. Although we do need to find out exactly how long that warranty period would last for. So
Yeah, sure. About water.
Well, wait, the dude's
I
already
saw
sent me
it.
a text. That's absolutely
And I really
crazy.
like it.
You know, when they say after your first date, you should wait a couple of days before texting. This guy was
Maybe
just brilliant.
not
On my
like
route
first,
to
but
finding a
it's
fair middle ground repair
still
option, I ended up having an
was
extremely
good.
interesting chat with a not Apple, but supposedly Apple certified repair center.
Thank you for calling. A genuine Apple
I
replacement.
wait
£300
so long
for
for a tattoo.
You don't really do one for the 15. There is the odd ones about, but they'll not be very good at all.
Has Apple changed something on the 15 that makes them less repairable?
Yes, it's got hardware locks on stuff, so things are paired up to
Yeah.
them now. If you took the camera out of another iPhone 15 original one, put it into yours, the camera won't
I
work at all.
see.
What some of them do to try and falsify it a little bit is they take the chip from the original screen and transfer that chip onto the replacement screen. And then it will stop the notifications coming up. I'm an Apple technician, but not for here. When I'm at the other shop, I can do them. That's the shop that's authorised to do them, so we have to do them from that geolocation as such.
Oh, I see. So Apple actually tells you where that repair can happen as well.
Yeah, everything's coded. When we order the parts, they come direct to that store, and we can only use them within that store. Because obviously Apple would know by the IP what address where you're doing it.
Wow.
Oh, thank you.
They're very clever.
Now I thought, while we're here, we might as well also ask this guy if he thinks Apple makes a profit on the
It will be
parts it
cool.
supplies to repair centers, or if they're doing it at cost.
Oh, they'll make profit on them. The mid chassis for a genuine, they're $439. For the 15 Pro Max, a chassis is £600, and a screen is £400.
What? 400 just for the screen? Can that be right? But also, Apple actually geo-locks the location of the repair centers that are authorized to make sure that the repair only happens in that exact location that's been approved. Right, now I guess we have to bite the bullet and call Apple themselves. Okay, I think you actually have to go through their website. So they have this tool that lets you calculate, I guess. So cracked screen, iPhone 15, yeah, $289.
Oh, I don't
And
really
one
know
back
yet.
glass is damaged.
Let's see
is what it
how
says.
it will.
So then I can do cracked screen
I
and
don't
back
have
glass
any
damage
plans for
together,
today.
and that's going to be $399. That's
Just some work.
definitely cheaper than what the last guy was telling us. But it's all just so weird.
Maybe
how much
walk
disinformation
if
there is between
weather
these different repair
will be
places.
good.
Anyways, it turns out there is no Apple
I don't know
store in
yet.
my area, but it's fine because what Apple does then is sends you to a store that they've approved to do it on behalf of them. So let's call them.
We have Apple trained engineers, and they use all
Yeah,
so it's the same
I
as
have much open
most
some
repairs, if we've got parts in, take about 3 hours.
stuff.
Okay, that's pretty fast.
If we've not got parts in, and we
Actually, yes, very, but
It seems like the
world
nearest appointment
changing.
we have is Tuesday, is that right? Okay, I mean, that's kind of good news in the sense that I was expecting this to potentially take
For me,
10 to
it's
15 days going
a
the official
lot.
route.
Ukrainian
He's suggesting it can
are
actually be done same day.
not so
Although,
much
because they're so busy, that
religions,
same day has
don't
to
have
be
so,
5 days
so
from
much
now. What I'm
stuff.
finding really interesting here is that Apple
But
themselves
Ireland
are not
changing
actually the
too.
most expensive repair option. The most expensive actually seems to be the companies who use official Apple parts, but who aren't
Yeah,
themselves Apple. The way that it clearly works
it may be.
is you either go cheap, you go to a local place and you get local unauthorized parts, and that is going to be your cheapest option, or you go to Apple themselves, in which case you pay a high price, but then you do get everything the official way. It doesn't feel like there's an in-between option, though, that makes sense in any way. Like, if you go to third-party repair places, but then specify that you also want Apple official parts, you'll actually pay more than just going to Apple. But we should try it as a
Rarotonga,
third
it's
option, just in case there are any
a
surprises
small
on the way.
island,
So let's call it
I
the
thought,
delightfully
and
named
they just
But
don't
trying to
need
get a
to
quote.
work Sunday.
Wow.
Many of
This standard screen, like, how good is it compared to the original screen?
South
But the original
islands,
screens you get from used
touristical
iPhones,
places,
is that right? We'll stick
just
with the
don't want to
451
work
then.
Sunday.
It's so strange that there's a situation in which the really kind of dodgy hodgepodge repairs, why that is more expensive than Apple's official one. Right, so I think we have our three
Yeah,
repair
he told me
options. We have
that.
the completely unofficial
I
repair,
remember.
which is going to cost
It's so
£180
cool.
for the screen from one shop, and then £75 for a new back to be stuck on from another shop. Then there's unofficial repair, but using real parts, which is going to cost £330 for the screen, and then £120 for the back, so $450. And then there's the full official channel, which is Apple's £400 repair. Let's get the ball rolling with them. So, we're still on day 0, we're on our way to the cheapest repair place. I've got to say, I'm actually kind of proud with how symmetrically I've managed to destroy these. It's almost like a work of art. Oh.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
And it's strange. I need grocery for my party, but I can't buy it.
I called earlier today. We're waiting outside the store for a phone repair. 10 apparently. Oh my god.
Yeah, yeah. Strange.
And so you were saying you could do a unofficial screen repair for $180, and then you give a tempered glass screen protector. So basically every feature should work the same way. And you think the quality looks the same? Yeah. You could do this, you're saying, within about an hour? Yeah. Right, well, I can't speak to the quality of the repair yet, but what I really like about these small shops, as opposed to the big corporations, is they just get it done, as opposed to, like, schedule in an appointment, and then we'll check stock of parts, and maybe we'll order them into my warehouse. But we move. Time to tackle our next repair store. Yahoo! iCrack. Sounds a bit funny and daft, but never mind. Why did they call themselves iCrack? That implies they're the ones doing cracking. What was wrong with iFix? What a glorious haven of a modern society. What a broken iPhone here. My friend carved something into it. 330 for the standard quality is both, and 450 for the original 3 and the original 10. Unless you get it replaced from the Apple itself, you will get a message saying it's not an Apple report. £450 is just wild for a phone that I paid $699 for. Something about the current state of the repair industry really sucks. And I can't tell right now if it's because of Apple, who is specifically coding the parts in your iPhone to make sure they only work in your iPhone, or if it's just on the repairers. So, both non-Apple repair phones have been dropped. We're still on the first day, mind you, so I was expecting to wait a little bit of time to hear from anyone, but I have learned never to underestimate e-mobile repair. Okay, we've only been back about 45 minutes. I just want to confirm, phone fixed and ready. Thanks. Crazy. Hello. The entire front panel is gone. Yeah. And that's what's been in the place. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Kitted. I actually think that it's a generic one.
Have a good day. Thank you for stopping by today. It was nice to see you again. Hope you see later. See you later. Bye bye.
So I guess this is one immediate downside of going via the ultra cheap route, because it's basically just 2 months warranty scribbled onto a tiny little receipt. I think they'd probably honor it out of goodwill, but you don't really have a guarantee in the same way that you do when you go via official channels. But remember, we're not done yet with this one. Because eMobile Repair didn't offer a back replacement, I have to make another stop to be able to get that done. My friend decided to carve something into it, so I just want to swap it, and they said you could do it the same day. About £75. Tomorrow. Okay, we'll order the back, yeah. I mean, that's kind of unfortunate, really. They did say on the phone that it would be done the same day.
And I have some.
Pay the cash first. Until they order the parts so that they can then
A bit of energy. Recharging.
So that's the fully repaired, cheapest repair phone.
Yeah, just working on your phone and the connection directly.
We'll come back in 15
minutes. Stuff.
I actually give me a lot of confidence in the quality of repair if they've already found a loose part. So I did what I always do when I ask a question.
Hello, Blur
Pokemon card shop.
42. How are you?
Right. Now let's pick up the phone. So the rubber bands are keeping the back on. Do you think this will void the warranty as well? Yes. I actually kind of feel bad for it. It looks like it's just come out of surgery. Ooh, actually, I just realised something. Okay, we need to talk about this. Oh wow. It's literally giving me a temperature warning. Obviously, the glue gun they've used to fix this is not an Apple-approved fixing method. There's been a slight hiccup with phone number 2.
We can't get the original screen and original back for it right now. There are some shops which deal with the original parts.
How do they get the parts? The original parts?
Thank you for following. Drello11.
So it's not great that they've agreed to a service before knowing
Thank you
that they can do
for
it.
help.
And slightly alarming that they don't know
To
where
find
their
some
parts are coming
friends.
from. Is there a way you can just request the original parts and we wait a bit longer?
I can ask the guy in the main lab. Half an hour, I'll get back to you.
Yeah, he didn't get back to me.
It's not available in the market as I told you before.
So you have no estimated time when that's going to come?
Exactly.
I think I'll leave it then. Thank you. Oh dear. Okay, we are bright and early on day number 5, and we're going straight to our very official Apple appointment.
Starting out.
How is the official Apple room cheaper than many other places?
Official Apple pricing would display iPad separately about 468.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if they would take into account the cheaper when you get both done at the same time. With the 15, we removed the back glass now.
Okay.
So it would be display being taken off, back glass taken off, because on the older models you would have to replace the entire back of the phone.
So that means I don't need to wipe my phone or anything like that? Like, that's really good. How does the warranty work? Is it the same warranty that I purchased it with, or do you get an extended warranty?
It's continuing the warranty you have at the moment, or if you have less than 90 days, it would extend it to 8 years. So we're out of back glass at the moment, and we'll be free working days.
3 working days, so Tuesday. So you guys can't tell me now when it will be in, it'll be a text.
It would either be a text or an email.
This is a pretty positive experience, to be honest. Like, yes, obviously expensive, but now we know that it's not as expensive as it gets. And it is really good to know that the official repair route no longer needs you to wipe your phone. And I suppose the other part of it is, as much as I don't love that this is a thing, this is your only way to guarantee that you can actually keep your warranty. Like, as soon as you start getting those non-genuine parts messages, it's gone, right? This is actually really interesting. Now, there's a good chance you've heard that Apple has been in quite a bit of hot water over the last few years for trying to control the repair process. And rightly so, to be honest, because, I mean, if you think about the percentage value of the phone that we've just had to pay just to fix it, it's almost cheaper just to buy a working used one on eBay. But I do feel that we've just witnessed the first signs of that changing. Let's just try Opera's Aria AI here. What has Apple changed on their newer iPhones that allows them to be cheaper to repair? Okay, so modular design, which means that individual components are easier to take off separately. So I guess that's why they no longer need to completely replace the phone. They can just fix what's there. And then also easier disassembly, so fewer mechanisms and adhesives. So we can get rid of all of this, and then new tab within a new tab island, which is one of the best things about Opera's browser. Everything actually feels organized. So if we go to Apple's repair cost estimator, iPhone 15, which is what we already did, it's going to tell us that it will cost $399. We knew that. But if you change that to iPhone 14 Pro, which is the last phone using the previous less repairable architecture, $619 to repair a phone. That's an absolute joke. The only remaining question then is this whole parts pairing thing that Apple does. This idea that Apple has to specifically assign a part to authorize it to be able to work within your specific iPhone. Otherwise, it's non-genuine parts pop-up messages and voiding of your warranty, as well as in some cases the parts just not working at all. That's an Aria question too, to be fair. What are the arguments for and against Apple's parts pairing on their iPhones? So yeah, the perks are quality control. It's Apple's way of making sure that if you get an iPhone, you're having the iPhone experience all the time. But then I suppose to some extent it is also for the security of the customer. Like, let's say you go to a knockoff repair store to fix your Face ID scanner, for example, and then they fix that with a knockoff Face ID part that may scan your face data in a less secure way, and then something happens and then you blame it on your iPhone. I guess Apple's trying to avoid that situation. But then on the other hand, parts pairing does severely limit the user's choice when it comes to options for repairing their phone. Like, this whole process has been very shocking to me. I expected to be able to walk into these shops and there'd be 15 different tiers of repair options I could go with, all at different price points. But the truth is, it's just not worth it for most companies, because the iPhone's going to reject most kinds of repair and the consumer won't be happy with them. And then, yeah, actually also the fact that people feel like this behavior encroaches on their right to repair. The fact that, like, I'm having to pay £400 or else there is a pretty major downside, that does feel like a problem. But there's a glimmer of hope. It feels like it is creeping towards the right direction. Because actually 2 weeks ago, Apple changed their policy to allow you to repair iPhones using used parts. Like, they still have to be genuine parts, it doesn't fix that problem, but it can be genuine parts from an older used iPhone that isn't specifically the one model that those parts were designed for. Okay, let's skip to actually picking up the 2 remaining phones so we can dig into some results. And if you want to try the Opera browser for yourself, the sponsor of this video, to be able to do all of this stuff, then link is in the description. I would strongly recommend at least trying. So, time to pick up the finished phone from Apple and the remains of the phone from iCraft. What's the reason that they're not coming up, the parts?
Don't know exactly.
Okay. Alright, well, thank you. That's alright. Hello, I'm just picking up a repair. So they've done the screen and they've done the...
Back glass and display, yeah. You distribute the box.
That is me, yeah.
No way.
Oh, you watch together?
Yeah, man.
Using a pixel.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't. It's lovely to meet you. Now, clearly, this did not go as I was expecting it to go. I thought there'd be a really cheap option, a middle option, and then the premium official option. And after all of this, I would end up telling you, middle is fine. Now, I would say that the premium option is about what I expected it to be. It's expensive. I mean, £400 to repair a phone that once you've used it is only worth about $500 to $600 is absolutely crazy. But also, you're not likely to get an appointment straight away, which means that even though the repair in this case was pretty fast, it took 2 days in total, because I had to wait 5 days to actually get that repair in, the total time is 7 days, which in today's age is a long time to spend without your phone. But there are clear perks. You keep your original warranty, and the warranty is actually extended if you're near the end of it. Your phone keeps its waterproofing, and I mean, it really does just look like Apple gave me a brand new phone, with the perks of actually them not having to replace the device. I mean, I can't see a single imperfection on either the front or the back, so clearly there are some substantial quality checks in place when you go down this route. The middle option makes no sense at all. I mean, if you want genuine Apple parts, you're going to have to just pay more going through this way than just going through Apple. Everyone loses in this situation. You're not going to get the same quality checks. Your back is effectively going to be glued on, so it's going to be messy and you're going to lose your waterproofing. Your warranty is basically void on arrival, and even though they can use official Apple parts, there is still a very good chance that you're going to get a notification saying that they're not genuine parts because of this whole parts pairing thing. So only Apple, as well as a few sellers that they authorize to work on their behalf, have the software required to authenticate your parts. And without that, the resale value of your phone is just going to plummet. And that's if these third-party sellers can even find a real Apple part, which in my case they could not. So I just told them, don't bother. I am just going to have to take the L on this phone. But hey, if you're finding this video useful, then a sub to the channel, well, would be cracking. Just not eye-cracking. But the cheap option, this one is a lot more interesting, because this in total has cost me £255, and in my case it took 1 day, and that's just because of the delay getting the backplate in. But had they had that in stock, this could have been a same-day repair. And like, obviously I am in the lucky position where if I send my phone in, I have other smartphones I can use, but a lot of people don't. For a lot of people, handing in your smartphone might well mean living with a dumb phone or no phone for that time, and so being able to minimize that gap is a big perk. But what is the quality of the repair like? I feel like we got a bonus gift of these rubber bands. Okay, for starters, the tempered glass screen protector they put on the front is actually not quite the right size for this phone. It's kind of peeking out the bottom of the screen in a way that, once you've noticed it for the first time, is pretty distracting. Oh, it's really not good. There's actually a crack in the screen protector itself already. There's a weird shadowing around the dynamic island. It actually makes it look a lot like a fake iPhone. Let's take this screen protector off. Oh wow. Yeah, even without the screen protector, the screen who's fitted is actually a lot thicker. So the phone is much less seamless too than it originally was. The viewing angles are absolutely atrocious. Like, as soon as you rotate this more than 30 degrees, it just turns into a red mess. Does True Tone still work? Let's see. Well, actually, yeah, it's gone. The option for True Tone has disappeared from the phone because it knows it's not using a genuine part. The phone is much more aware of what parts it's using than I originally expected. It just feels like everything happens a tiny bit slower than it does on the real phone. Oh, but the back is the real problem. Like, the glue is still seeping around all 4 corners. It feels terrible, it looks terrible, but also, they've got it in the cameras. Like, if you look really closely here, there is glue behind the glass on my phone. It's not a great look, but to be fair, it doesn't show up on camera or particularly affect the image quality. So, you know, for the 10% of people who just will not pay £400 to repair their iPhone, This is a cheaper option that does also do the job. The best option for most people, though, will be the official repair route. But if this video has taught me one thing, it's that the repair industry in general just sucks, and that cases and screen protectors just make too much sense.
I don't need it. And I'm sure. What happens with all my stuff? They just don't work. What a day. Okay. I believe I need to go now and fix all my stuff. Reboot my computer and this all. So I'll be here later for you. Bye for now.